us roll. GM.
No worries. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Yes, now I can see you. I couldn't find the tab. I think it's working, right?
Yep, we're live.
It is.
Should be working. Yes, I can see our beautiful faces. Okay, we have already 100 people, so I believe we should start. Yeah, everyone is here. Mauro, Diego, yes. Mauro, I don't know why. Usually you get kicked off by the system before everything starts.
I just like to press buttons, and sometimes they kick me.
Yeah, there's no freedom in streaming. Okay, thanks everyone for joining. This is our 24th alignment session. For those who don't know, this is a place where we update everyone on what we're doing from the engineering side, from the business side as much as we can, because there's some stuff that usually cannot be shared publicly until they're finalized. And also, we talk about how we see the industry, the space, and anything that we consider relevant for Aligned and for crypto in general. So we're going to do today a shorter version because I have a flight that I need to take. And as usual, we will start with Mauro giving some updates on the engineering side. And then I will give a short update on what we're working on from the business point of view. Overview, I would guess. I will try to explain a little bit of what we have been working on with a project I cannot mention yet, but to explain why is it useful and what type of things we're working with them. And I don't know if then, Boris, you have anything that you consider relevant from CK News that you want to cover here. If not, we'll make it a shorter version and we'll cut today's live stream. And before I forget, we also have a few questions that we usually answer by the end of the stream as well. So this is the second time we're going to do that. And yeah, hopefully it's going to be useful for everyone and useful for content generation as well. So, Mauro, Do you want to continue?
Yes, I can continue. So, all right. The two main things we are working is still like the CK rollups with Etrex and the CK Arcade. On the rollup side, I think things are going very nice. Like if you're following Fede, he's usually the one showing all the progress on Etrex, and we are going to be using Etrex. So everything, I think everything is finished. There are some discussions on some details, but it's working fast. It's good. So now we might do some experiments with it of changing configurations and seeing some trade-offs on how to launch it, and hopefully that will give us information on how to use it in the future. This might sound a little bit cryptic. Sorry about that. It's just that I don't want to go really deep into cryptography or or Ethereum. So let's say we are testing it a little bit, but everything is working. On the
Well,
platform for games,
could you remind everyone how the like a small, very small summary of how the integration would work between Ethrex and Aligned?
yes, of course. So Idrex is an Ethereum client. It has some optimizations, let's say, to make it very easy to prove with the RISC-V prover, right? So there are many ways to actually integrate this with Align. I will go for the easiest one. It might not be exactly the same approach that we will use, but let's imagine the easiest one. The simpler approach is like we run an L2 with a single client that is an interest client, and this client is processing transactions from many users. So this client could be, for example, an app chain. Let's say the chain for documents that an identity that we are working on, or it can be something specific. It might be a place for people to trade. It might be a voting application, whichever application that might benefit from having their own chain and then settling and having the security of Ethereum. But they might need to be their own chain. So we have this client that is going to be doing stuff, right? And after a while, it might say, okay, I want to actually have the whole security of Ethereum, so I'm going to send a proof that I have been behaving properly, not cheating, and then it will send a proof to Ethereum. Now, to reduce cost, like what it can do is to send a proof to Align, either the fast, like the ABS, and get a quicker response, or send it to the aggregation mode, where there are no trade-offs, like the security is the same if you send it to the aggregation mode or Ethereum, and then saves fees on that will be spent on Ethereum. So in that way, Align is providing a cheap mechanism to verify the blockchain and to then be able to have the whole security of Ethereum. I don't know if you have any questions. Maybe Arshay,
No, I think
would
that's
like
all
to add
good.
something?
No, I think everything is very clear. It's just to give constantly everyone the full picture of how these things work, so the audience can follow it. Yeah, so you can continue with
Yes.
the.
And I say, well, just in case it's a little bit simplified because we might not want to have a standardized sequencer. We may have different sequencers, and then you can sequence on Ethereum. That's not a big problem. Like at least you can pick a sequencer through Ethereum and have many. Then we need to add some kind of bidding mechanism for people for Ethereum to agree on who is the right sequencer. maybe add some TDX, but this is the simplified version. On CK Arcade, like on the previous week, everything was working already. So now we are working on improving it, not right? Because you get a product and it might be working, but it's not. Uh, it, it's good, but it can be improved. So we have been working on actually improving the platform. We did many improvements. In particular, the first version was working only with MetaMask. Now it works with all the wallets. It has a better leaderboard. Like you can have, we store some on chain, but we are doing some things to have an extended leaderboard off chain. We it was lacking, for example, proper instructions on how to use it. Now we are adding it. We did a round of people playing it and giving us feedback. They say, okay, now you can simplify things here, here, and here, and we are simplifying things. So overall, we are improving the quality of the application. It's already done, but it can always be improved. That has been most of the work. Then we did a little bit of work on the fast mode, but it's almost finished.
Yeah, I think the CK Arcade platform is looking very good. There's always a few things that can be improved, but it's almost at a point that it's like actually really really good. I think it will be fun for people to try it. We still need to have more people from the team do it, but I think this week, right, Mauro, maybe we can have more internal testing.
That's right. We will probably we will for sure do some more internal testing this week. Do some experiments, see if everything is okay. Like and well, see what else can be improved. But it's looking very good. Uh, I'm I'm liking it. Yeah, people play, make proofs, send it to a line. It's going to be fun. And I think that there are many things like this. It might be a good example for applications. So I actually like that. If someone at some point wants to make an application on a line that doesn't use the L2 stacks, because for some application you might not need that. Actually, I like it a lot, but maybe someone can think of applications that don't need that. This will be a good example on how to integrate with us.
100%. Okay, I think that's it, right, Mauro? Should we move on?
Yes, we can move on.
Perfect. And as always, everything is open source. Literally everything that Mauro covered is very public and can be checked and reviewed in the Align repo, the CK Arcade repo, and also Ethrex repo that is not under under the aligned GitHub. Is in Lambda class GitHub. I think we'll probably share more about this in the next update. So, as always, you have the links at your disposal. So, before we move on into some of the questions that we have that we'll try to answer each week, the idea is to explain more. The idea of these questions is to have a place where we can explain more with Diego and Mauro different stuff that are relevant for the project. And hopefully also include community questions if everyone has something that we consider relevant or can be a good question to share. We would include it. But before that, I wanted to remind everyone that many of the things that Mauro mentioned are really important, not only from the engineering side but also from business side. We covered a few weeks ago, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Boris, almost 4 weeks now, since we had the announcement from Sobra that they're working with Ethrex and they're going to build on top of Align as well. Um, And Ethrex is going to be Ethrex plus a 9 is the first kind of combo that is super important for us in order to start onboarding many of the people that we have in the pipeline. So the first one is Sobra, that we are sharing more in social media, how we're working with them, what's the work they're doing, so people can understand more their business and use cases, because we are an infrastructure suite of products, right? So we give tools to other people who have businesses that they need to solve different use cases in the real world, and we provide them with the right tools. So part of our job is also to explain the variety and the diversity of all of these projects. So you have like Sobra, and then we have like a fintech company that they want to work with us as well, using the similar stack, Etherex plus aligned. And in the future, the idea is to cover with even more of our products, like the wallet as a service, the meta proving services. That is going to be important for many of these rollups, especially considering that there's a lot of competition between provers. So we'll be able to quote them the best pricing possible for the prover needs. And then we have the interoperability protocol is going to be super important long term and also in the short term for accessing the liquidity and moving assets between all of them. So all of these products are in service for people that we already have in the pipeline. But the first thing we need to do is have an easy way to launch these rollups. And we're very close to that. That's why what Mauro mentioned and what he explained is extremely relevant. And luckily, we already have the infrastructure for aggregating proofs and verifying all of these proofs in a very affordable manner. And that very specific layer is already working very well. And we're very close to launching it in mainnet as well, the full thing with the aggregation service. Yes, Mauro.
Oh, someone here asked the support for Circom. We already support Circom on testnet, so you can already use it. We will deploy it on mainnet soon. It's going to come with a big patch for a big upgrade for mainnet, but
Yep.
you can already use it on testnet. In the aggregation mode, it's not included. We might see we can include it in the future. We will see a little bit the demands. That's probably more of a business question. But
Yep, exactly. Okay. Thank you for the question. So, yeah, summarizing, we have already these big two projects that are more immediate, and then we're still working with other institutions that want to use the stack in order to solve different problems in some countries where trust is a big issue for internal processes, and all of these problems disappear well when you use Zk and Ethereum. So when we can, we'll try to share more about those things. But the two main things that are more urgent both require Ethrex plus aligned, and we'll have we'll have many of these things live very soon this year. Yep, and that is it from the business side. I think we will be sharing more about CK Arcade and some of the events that are coming up in the last part of the year. And so, yeah, stay tuned, and we'll try to give more details. Boris, do you want to move on to the questions?
Yeah, totally. So Mauro already brought up the question that somebody left in the comments, so thank you for that. A few other things that are relevant that you kind of touched on that I think would be interesting to get a good, clear answer on. Sorry, I hope there isn't too much background noise for me right now. There's a bit. Oh no, it filters it out again. I'm next to a
We
busy.
can hear you perfectly fine.
Awesome. So the question is, will Aligned build a prover network?
No, we are not building a prover network. What we're building is an aggregator of many proven networks and proven services. There are many teams building all of them. And what we believe is to offer the best services to our clients. What we can do is offer a service that is specialized in allowing them to access and get quotes from many of these places so they can get the best prices for the proofs. That's the idea. So no, we are building something that's called a meta proving services. That's the short answer. Weird name. Prover aggregator, I think it will be even weirder. Uh, so if you have a better name, you can always share it. Uh, but yeah, let's try not to put the word aggregation somewhere else because I think it will create a lot of problems. And
I,
I think the cryptographers in the team will have a very hard time accepting that.
Yeah, too many aggregations and proofs together.
RJ, would it be appropriate to describe the meta proving services as a sort of API that makes it easy for developers to access different proving services?
Yes. Um, I think that's the best way to say it. It's similar to, if you want a comparison or analogy that is not perfect, but it can work. It's similar to what 1inch, Matcha, 0x Matcha, where are some of the others? Well, Uniswap has an aggregator as well. Many of these DEX aggregators, what they do is try to route you on the best place so you can get the best pricing, right? This is similar, but instead for a trade, is for rollups or CK applications that want to generate the proofs, and we will let them know, okay, this is the best place for your proof.
Cool. So a related question to that, because you mentioned these sort of cross-chain and DEX aggregators, what will be the differentiating factor between the interoperability protocol that Aligned is building and bridges that people can already access? Or what is the reason for something like this, rather?
Yeah, the reason is it starts. I will start from the product point of view and the business point of view, and we can work backwards to the technology. And Mauro and Diego, if you want to add anything, feel free to do so. The main reason why we need to offer something with interoperability is because what people want to access on Ethereum is the liquidity, the security, and the 24/7 global access to these markets, right? You want something that is almost unstoppable, or it can work. It can work every single second of the day without having to rely on a centralized party that has different rules due to regulations on how to run the service. So you can do a transfer of money at any time. You can do a trade at any time. So if that's what you want something when you launch your rollup or on your applications, you want something that can give you access to the liquidity of Ethereum and other places. So you want this rollup that you're launching to be connected to the main hub that is Ethereum, that you have a connection through the native bridge, but you also want a connection through other rollups as well. Why? Because there are already markets where your users might already start doing stuff, or they want to use certain services. So that's why you need interoperability, because if it's similar to cities or to countries, you want global commerce, so you can offer the best prices and people can move freely. So this is similar. Now, then you have different layers of interoperability. You have the layer of you want interoperability just to move assets. You want interoperability to access protocols from another chain. And I think here we have like two phases or two things to discuss. One is in the future we'll offer base rollups, and that will solve part of the interoperability, but not fully. You can solve interoperability or give great products of interoperability even without base rollups. But why are they important and why is a feature that we want to offer? Because by having base rollups, we'll have an interoperability that will allow us to lower the costs of many of the financial services that are like the main infrastructure of financial services of our rollup. Meaning, it's going to be useful for people that do market making, MEVs, oracles. Many of these things that are very expensive. For example, onboarding an oracle to your rollup is very expensive. So if you have a base rollup and you can consume directly the oracle from Ethereum, or be connected directly to Uniswap and consume the price of something, is going to lower a lot the cost of running these things, because usually you need to go and do BD and say, hey, Chainlink, I want to have the price feed of this thing in my rollup. How much do I need to pay you in order to have this? Blah, blah, blah. All of those things are expensive, and also they take a lot of time. So we want to offer many of these financial infrastructure in an easy way as well. How can you do that? By having interoperability with the L1. Now, there's a second layer of interoperability that is moving assets very quickly. And this is based on what we have been talking about for a long time, that is using an intent-based bridge plus CK. Why? And this can be built on top of something that is already using base rollups that would allow you to have a very quick and easy way for people balancing or rebalancing their assets through this protocol using the L1. Or you can build it directly on your own, and in the future, if you have the base rollup thing, it can be improved. What do you want is people to move money as cheap as and as fast as possible, and having a third party on their side that is going to run a business, that their business is managing liquidity in many different places and give you the cash in advance. And you need this because you want to lower the friction of accessing the applications of our clients, or the users of our clients being able to access many of the other applications that already exist in crypto. And these users could be retail, literally the user of the clients, or it could be financial institutions like market makers that will want to go, I don't know, to Sobra's chain to offer liquidity for whatever Sobra is doing. So this is very important. You want to lower the cost of the financial infrastructure we want to lower the cost of the financial infrastructure for our clients. And at the same time, we believe we could build a very good interoperability protocol, not only for our ecosystem, but for others as well, where there's a huge gap in terms of technological upgrade of what you can do today with CK, and then some new ideas that you could use with intent-based bridging. Mauro and Diego, I consumed all of the space of the question, but I don't know if you want to answer anything specific.
No, I think you covered everything.
Okay.
Yeah, one point I wanted to add to what you just said, RJ, which is something that I've said in the past, which is the whole zk intent-based bridging. Historically, because of proofs being very expensive to verify, that kind of prevented these sort of solutions from being used heavily because the cost would still be too high. But this is one of the use cases for our proof verification layer that in the past I've talked about a lot and used it as an example of something we want to build, because now that verification is cheap and fast with our infrastructure, then we can offer this kind of bridging option. So I don't know if you have anything to add there. If that...
No, last thing to add is that we'll try to share more about this when we can. I think we're doing a better job from a communication point of view is explaining why many of these features are important. We're trying to explain what are important from the product point of view and from a business point of view, and then talking about the tech. The last thing I want to mention about the tech is that for many of these things, you do not only need CK, you need, I don't know what's the correct name of the technology, but you need different designs in intent-based bridging. It's something that we have been talking with Mauro, that is not directly, like, most of the improvements are not 100%, do not come 100% from CK, come from interesting new architectures. I would say more from a crypto economic point of view. I don't know how to explain it, Mauro, but CK is one part. The other part of the design that is really important, that is very novel about what we're discussing, is novel cryptography.
Mechanism design or game theory, yeah.
Yeah, there are like some mixes when you start using intents and that kind of things. Is you are starting adding cryptography, not CK, because the intent has some cryptography, but it's also more of a crypto economic protocol. So it's more, yeah, you are right. It's more of a crypto economic design than a CK cryptography problem.
Yeah, you need both. The good thing is,
yeah,
Yeah, you have more. We have more tools now, and I think we're a good team in terms of diversity of knowledge to use them. Like we know, okay, we have this toolkit. We can now rewrite certain interoperability protocols because we have better tech that is easier to use, and you can make something as minimal as possible. And my dream it will be to have something in interoperability that is as easy to use as Uniswap V2. You deploy it, the smart contract on your chain, and the market starts working on top of it in order to offer liquidity in that place. And it's just a few hundred lines of code. I don't know if we will be able to get to that moment of simplicity, but that's something that I would like to achieve.
Good North Star product. North Star. Okay, should we...
At least like all of our L2 should have a very easy version. Like it should be like being on the same chain almost, at least on the asset side. Maybe I don't know, maybe one chain has, let's say, 10 blocks per second, and you might not have that speed for interoperability, but we should be able to have at least a block of Ethereum or 2 blocks, let's say, just in case. So some small, not fraction of a second necessarily, but some small latency to just use your money as you wish. Or your assets, because maybe you are just interested on carrying out the state if you have a document or something. That's one of the things that the Ethereum and the ecosystems and we as builders of this L2 ecosystem need to take care of. Like nobody likes the fragmentation of having to slow bridges going to mainnet and waiting 30 seconds, and someone asks you to pay and it is on another chain, and you go, oh no, oh, I have my money in 4 chains, but I don't have it in that chain, so now it's a mess. That kind of thing should be a thing of the past at some point. Like it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, and it's not only for the end user, but it's also for the people that run the liquidity in many of these places. They are a big factor in terms of pricing. So if you can give them something where they can rebalance things with less money and in shorter periods of time, it would be better. Many of them actually use exchanges sometimes to rebalance. I don't think it should be necessary. You could put something where it works better than an exchange in order to move your money around if you are a big player.
Sort of related to all this is the idea of base rollups, which we actually published an article about last week. I just shared it in the comments for anyone watching. It's there. If you go to articles on the aligned X profile, you can see it. But we do dig into a few of these sort of like reasons for why base rollups are something we really care about supporting and why we're using Ethrex to enable that eventually. So maybe if we can get one quick answer from one of you guys that summarizes why we think base rollups are a very important thing to support. I think that's something people would find interesting.
I already gave my point of view when we were talking about interoperability. So I will throw you, Diego and Mauro, the ball to give your opinion and your answer.
Yeah, I can speak a bit about it. There are like many reasons to have base rollup. And it depends a little bit on the definition of base, because sometimes, for example, decentralizing the sequence and for some people is enough to be base, and for some people it's not. The first is like some liveness guarantees and some stronger guarantees on the L2s. Like if you have a centralized service, like it won't be able to take your money because it's CK, it has a good protocol, so it's secure, it's safe. The problem is that let's say that 2 years passes, like the company and have the L2 shuts down and it doesn't run the sequencer anymore. In that case, that chain is in a big problem, and any user on it is in a big problem. So you want some decentralization of this on the sequencer, like you want other people to be able to run this sequencer. One way to do that is with a base rollup, and I think it's a very clean way. Like if you are sequencing through Ethereum and picking the sequencer on Ethereum, then is that chain it can outlive like their creators, right? So that's very good. It's also stronger in censorship resistance, because if you have only one sequencer and the sequencer doesn't like you, it might censor your transactions. Then, assuming it's like a very good L2, you may have some escape hatch, and you might have ways to retrieve funds to your main network. But that kind of things is clunky. If you are using, let's say, a lending protocol and your money is stuck somewhere, that escape hatch might not work. It depends on how it's built. So it's not very good. Now if you have different sequencers and some clever cryptoeconomic mechanisms, you can avoid pretty much the censorship problem. Worst case, you might need to pay a little bit more, but it's already a normal to be censored, but just as a backup, like if you have many sequencers, it's harder, and if you have a small crypto economic protocol, it's almost impossible. So we have better liveness guarantee, like if there is a failure in one machine, like everything doesn't die, and failures in machine happens, you can probably be very clever on how you deploy the infra, even if you are centralized to guarantee liveness, but people won't be sure of that, right? I'm not sure how you are running your infra. I'm not sure how resistant it is. But if I see a base protocol, it's easy. I see it and I say, okay, as long as there are a couple of factors, it's very hard for this to go down. And yeah, failures are, things that happen in long. Sometimes it takes years to see a failure, but it might happen. If everything is centralized, the probability of that breaking something is high.
Yeah, and when we're talking about finance, it's really important what you're saying, Mauro, because if you are one of these financial infrastructure providers that is running, I don't know, 20, $30 million to give liquidity and move money around, having assurance that things will work even in the worst case scenario is very important, because money is very sensitive to like availability. Like if the system goes down, prices can change, people can lose money, or their strategies can be affected. So the stronger the guarantees on many of these things, the easier it will be for people to deploy even more capital, because they are sure things will work fine and as expected.
Yeah, and the last advantage is the one that Arshay talked before, that is more related to interoperability. There are some protocols that you can use to have very fast interoperability that might rely on the entity running the sequencer to be also proposing blocks on Ethereum or other chains. But a very simplified version is that if the block proposer is proposing blocks, let's say in many chains, or it's kinda like having, for that entity, from his point of view, he has like one big chain that is the aggregation of all the chains that he's sequencing, and he can do operations cross chain, and that works. I'm simplifying it a lot, because of course, like if he could just do magic all around, things will break. But this is the general idea. So you can greatly improve interoperability. It's even easier in your own ecosystem, like to then have interoperability, let's say, between all the L2s or all the aligned stack. Also, if it is based, it's very easy to have very good interoperability. If the other protocols are based, it's also very easy. And if not, we are back to having to do some more tricky things.
Thanks, Mauro. I came back. I couldn't hear you for a couple of minutes, so I had to get out and get in again. Diego, do you want to add anything regarding this, or Boris?
Yeah, no, I think he covered almost everything. I think that this also perhaps offers the opportunity for lower sequencing costs. So we are no longer trapped by a single sequencer that can more or less decide what he wants to charge you. And this also improves the economics for the L1 proposers. So I think that is also something really good um, for Ethereum. Then, of course, we could talk more about different strategies that we have um, for building a based rollup, but I think that would lead us into a bit of a rabbit hole. But that gives us like different like properties. Um, I don't know. We could have like something like total anarchy, or maybe like some round robin, or even Dutch auctions, and that way we could like get perhaps better prices and everything.
Yeah. So that based rollups, Ethrex and based rollups article we published last week. It is a pretty introductory article, but for anybody watching who is interested in this topic, we do link out to a few different resources. So some of the stuff Diego mentioned, there are different ways to design or construct a based rollup with different trade-offs, depending on which L1 validators or proposers actually get to propose the block. So yeah, there's a few different designs. What we have linked is the Ethrex docs, where they have this draft roadmap for supporting based rollups. And in there's tons of resources and even a table that compares the different designs between Tycho right now, what Spire is proposing, what OP Gattaca is proposing, what Rogue may use using Ethrex. So lots of interesting stuff to read about if you want to check it out. And we will be writing more content related to that, especially as the design matures a bit. So stay tuned. And if you want to talk about it, Discord, Telegram, we're there. If you have questions, we'd love that and jams. Don't be shy.
Oh, sorry, and there is one more thing. But in the future, we may be able to mix like base rollup with pre-calls. That will enable sub-seconds confirmation of the transactions. And that's going to be very useful. We need some upgrades on Ethereum, so it's not something that we can do right now, but in the future.
Also something we mentioned that there's some upgrades like the look ahead, deterministic look aheads that are coming in Glamsterdam, I believe, or Fusaka. But yeah, very interesting topic. I've had fun digging into it. Anyway, RJ, we're at 43 minutes.
I think it's we covered a lot, and I don't want to miss my flight.
Yes.
And I'm in the end of the world, so if I miss a flight, there's no like second flight available very soon. Yeah, go ahead, Boris.
Yeah, just a couple of quick plugs for people watching and wondering what to look forward to this week. So some alpha, first time being announced. On Wednesday, we're doing another aligned guest session, and I will be hosting the team from ZK Passport. We haven't announced this yet, but we will today or tomorrow. You heard it here first. We'll be doing the stream at the usual time, which is 8 a.m. Pacific time, which I know because I'm currently in San Francisco. But yeah, I'll be hosting the team from ZK Passport. They're building some very, very cool stuff. Basically, you can use your passport. They use ZK to verify your identity using the biometric RFID chip, so you can prove that you're a real person for different networks or apps without revealing your identity. They're doing some very cool work with Aztec right now and other projects. So yeah, really cool use case of ZK. I'm excited to learn more from them. The team is super smart. I know them personally. So yeah, stay tuned for that on Wednesday. And next time, I think next week, we can talk about our views on AI and why ZK and Ethereum are very important for this. Because we'll be putting an article out very soon exploring some of these ideas. So some fun stuff for next week.
Perfect. All right. From my side, I think we covered everything. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Diego, Mauro, and Boris.
Thanks for joining. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we'll see you on our 25th session. We should prepare something for, I don't know, we should decide on an anniversary.
For the 26th.
26? Okay.
Half a year.
Oh, the other thing is...
okay, perfect. Good number.
And another anniversary is Ethereum's 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, I know.
Wednesday, so
I think it's on Wednesday. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll probably share some stuff. We'll talk more about it. We'll share something.
Yeah. So
Almost like Harry Potter, but he was from the 31st.
How do you know?
I'll explain later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.